Welcome to the Listening Well, the space where every story matters. I'm Shania, your host and therapist, here to share real conversations and anonymous letters from listeners who are ready to speak their truth or just share something that they want to tell. Some stories are spoken, some are written, all are worth hearing. Let's listen in. Hi, everyone. So I was supposed to have a recording today, recording number 20. It'll be a while before this comes out. It's actually December, but this will probably come out like mid or like the end of February. So I don't have a topic for me to talk about, and I keep thinking about like one of the episodes that I recorded where like afterwards I was kind of talking with the person. They were like, don't forget to share your story like in the midst of all this. And I know it's been some time since I shared my story. I have to record pretty early, so maybe I'm sprinkling in my personal stories throughout there, but I know I didn't record very many as time's going on. So I figured, we have all these questions that everyone presents, and I do record them. I keep them on a tracker. We've got like 14 amazing questions that our guests have put out there into the ether. So I figured, why don't I maybe take some time and go through the questions myself? Hopefully the background noise isn't too crazy. My husband and I are fostering a puppy right now. We have 2 other dogs. I know you've probably seen them in the background. You may have heard them in some recordings. We are human beings, and not everyone can be super quiet and have a super quiet space. Hopefully my editor in Riverside gets rid of the dog's noise so you don't hear it. So I'm going to go through our 14 amazing questions, and I'm going to answer them because I do legitimately ponder on a lot of them, and I figured might as well. This is our 20th episode, which is really crazy. This is a lot further podcast-wise than I did the first time that I had a podcast. You can still find that linked in the link tree if you want to. The episodes were super long. They were 40 to 60 minutes, and I'm like, when I'm doing this again, I will never have it be that long because editing is super long. I don't do any heavy editing because I like things to be realistic and real. I don't chop and screw things up, but I just like to do a little run through to make sure that everything is what it's supposed to be and everything looks good. Dogs are running around. There's a wee pad on the ground. Pretty sure they're tearing it up. So hopefully you can't hear it too much. So the first question here, maybe I'll only do 5. Maybe I'll break this up a little bit, depending on how long this is, because I do like to hit my sweet spot of about 25 minutes, because after that people check out, which I totally get. We live in a world of quick gratification, so I appreciate anybody who listens through the entirety of these episodes because they are important stories to hear, and there's different segments and different pieces throughout for a reason to keep you really interested. But I hope that when people come on to this podcast and share about their story and are looking to make an impact in the community by doing so, that, listeners are listening throughout. And I do get to see how long people listen from Spotify creators. So I do have that information too. But anyways, let's get into the questions. So question number 1 is, and this is the question that I asked someone because they were our first guest. And I'm like, well, I got to have a question. So my question to them and my question to myself right now is, what's something you wish more people asked you about and why? That's a really good question. What do I wish more people asked me about? I don't know. That's a really good question. I feel like now I'm in the hot seat that I put everybody else in when I drop these questions and they're like, I don't know what to say. What's something you wish more people asked you about and why? What I've been thinking about lately is someone asking me what do you do? And for whatever reason, I'm not often asked what it is that I do outside of being in places where people are intentionally networking things. So I kind of wish that more naturally people would ask me, what do I do? And the reason for that is because I've been rethinking how I answer that question. Throughout this entire year, I've kind of been on a self-discovery journey. And if you listen to my other podcast before this one where I talked about my journey of becoming a therapist and what does it look like to kind of re-identify yourself, I have gone through a journey not only this year but last year as well in terms of how do I identify myself, who am I outside of the job that I do, because I was coming to terms with the fact that I could not I could no longer do the work that I was doing that I was so passionate about. And at that time, like for the past 4 to 5 years almost, I was so proud to say that I was doing this one and certain thing, and that this is who I am, and this is how I navigate in the world from this space of the work that I do. And now that I'm not doing that work anymore, and because of the identity work that I had to do of redefining who I am and like what that means, I feel like I don't want to lead with like what it is that I do. So I feel like if someone were to ask me like, hey, like what do you do? I feel like I would want to say like I'm a listener. I'm a connector. I love to connect peoples and things with places and resources and information. And I would also say I happen to also be a therapist. And I happen to, also provide like consultant work to nonprofits for their operations as well. And hopefully soon maybe I'll be on a board for a nonprofit that I really enjoy and love. So I really just want to kind of rethink like what that introduction of myself is, because I no longer want to be like the things that I do. Like I want to represent who I am as a person, and how I want to navigate this world, along with the things that I just happen to do, not who I am. So the second question is, if you really do not believe that spirits exist, what do you think happens after we leave this plane? So I do think that spirits exist for sure. I've had my own like certain encounterings. People in my family have had encounterings. People that I know have had encounterings. I don't know what happens when we leave this plane, and I'm gonna leave it at that. I'm content with not being totally sure, and I'm fine with that. So the third question is, what is an anchor event in your life that keeps you moving forward? Ooh, wow, that's a good question. What is an anchor event in your life that keeps you moving forward? I think it's less about like an actual event, but maybe more of like a phase in life. So there's an episode that I started to record, didn't get to finish it, where I talked about experiencing major depressive disorder as a young child, and having low self-esteem, very low self-confidence, and what that was like for me. And I would say like that phase of my life keeps me moving forward, because I know what it's like to not want to be here, to not want to live, and the fact that I love being alive and I love living no matter what the hardship is. Like I will take the ups and downs that comes with the being alive, because I'm so grateful to be here. And I think that's what keeps me moving forward. Like just being so aware of the difference of what it feels like to want to live and what it feels like to not want to live and not want to be here. I think that phase of my life, those events, is what keeps me moving forward. Question number 4. What is a key takeaway in something that you can do to make someone's life better tomorrow? Something that I can do. My favorite thing to do is to compliment people and to like just empower people and to make people feel good. Hey, that's like my favorite thing to do ever. If there's a moment where I can lift somebody up, like even if it's something small that I can say, like I'm gonna say it. Whether I know you, whether I don't know you, I love giving compliments to strangers because it feels really good. I remember, I think it was when I was in community college, and I probably just left a a class that has something to do with therapy, or like some sort of class that have to do with like, like course curriculum, because I went to school. At that time, I was majoring in like social sciences with a focus on social work for my associate's degree. Community college proud. And there was like some mentioning about like what small steps can be taken just to make other people feel better. Like how small of a thing can make a huge impact on someone, like giving somebody a compliment. Like you never know how that can make somebody's day. Like you don't know like what it is that they're going through, and like that could be something that really turned the day around for them. So I think just making people feel good, and just being nice and kind for no reason at all. When I go places, I know I have like, what is it, RBF? I know I have RBF. So like when I'm talking to other people, like I try to widen my eyes and smile when I can, because if I don't, I look Like I'm having the worst day ever. I have to be very intentional about my facial expressions. You know, like so if it looks like I randomly just popped back up here, it's because I had to yell at the dogs for doing entirely too much. Our oldest dog doesn't really feel the foster too much. So every time that she tries to play with him, he's not too cool about it. It's not like an unsafe thing. He's just like, get away from me. But he would never hurt a fly. The foster baby is safe. She's safe, I promise. But I was saying, like, just being kind for no reason to other people, like to strangers, especially like when I'm at the store or at a restaurant or in the gym and I make eye contact with someone, I smile because why not? And just like the physical facial expression for yourself as someone who is smiling at another person, that brightens up your own day. So being a positive person for other people feeds into yourself as well. There's like a whole brain science behind that. I forget what the exact thing is, but they were like, you know, if you're someone who's struggling with depression throughout your day, like just fake a smile. It doesn't even have to be a big smile. Like just curl up the very sides of your lips, and it does something to the brain and releases some of those good chemicals that we need for the brain, and just uplifts our mood a little bit. So I would say that that's something that I can, what does it take away? Something you can do to make life better tomorrow. Just be positive. Not toxic positivity, but just allowing yourself to be a light and to be a joy, because why not? And question number 5. We're going to do more than 5 because we're only at 12 minutes and I like my sweet spot. Who am I really? Who are you really? Well, that goes to my introduction that I just mentioned. Who am I really? Who are you really? So my name is Shania Kelly. I am married. I'm a wife. I am a daughter. I am a sister. I am a cousin. I am a person who's connected to others. And I'm someone who's connected to other people. I'm a friend. I'm intentional about my spirit and my presence, and I want to be a joy to help other people feel joy, because we often like go through our day to day, really pushing our positive feelings that are there to the side. And they're usually like convoluted and clouded by those negative thoughts and feelings that are so easy to take precedence in our life. So I want to be a joyful experience, not only for myself, but for other people too. Because why not? I think that at the core of who am I really, who are you really, is like a presence to serve other people, not neglecting myself. Pouring into myself helps other people. Pouring into others helps me too. But in some way, shape, or form, and hopefully that little tangent makes like a sense. But I feel like, you know, that's who I am. I am someone who's connected to many of others, someone who wants to bring others together in as many ways as possible, and to just be part of the construct of humanity and our collective consciousness, and being a part of like the good, and having that be like my core pillars of how I navigate in this world. So question number 6, what is one piece of advice that you wish you received when you were younger? This is a good one. I don't know if I ever received this advice, but advice that I wish I could have told myself. For one, like I don't have any like regrets of what I have experienced in life. I think that everything happens in a way to teach us certain things, but there are of course lessons that should be avoided, especially if they are rooted in trauma and hardship that really shouldn't take place for any reason at all. I'm not saying that's particular to my story, but I'm saying that in general because I try to be mindful about the words that I say, and how they can be received and by other people and how it could potentially impact others. And I never want to invalidate someone else's experience by speaking about my own. But with that, if I were to give myself advice, is that it's important to love yourself, you know, and that's the most valuable and worthy thing that I can do for myself. Like no one is able to give me my purpose. I can only find purpose from finding that within myself, or giving myself the space to be able to do that. Because I was someone who really struggled with my own self-purpose, my own self-confidence, and finding value in me without receiving that affirmation from other people. And that is also like the key to happiness and joy, is being able to find those things within yourself, because then it cannot be taken away from you, or it's not dependent on other people, or dependent on if like externally everything is good, great, and amazing and life is totally fine and there aren't any challenges or struggles or adversities to face or go through. So that would be the advice that I would give to myself, not like an isolationist way to say like all you've got is you, but to say that you are worthy, you are valuable inherently. And to love yourself is to love others, and you can't receive the love that you deserve or should have without loving yourself first. And I would have loved to have gone through less lessons to be able to figure that out. But I think that that's a journey that you have to go through to be able to get there for sure. Let's see. Question number 7. What part of yourself are you hiding behind shame and guilt? That's a good question. What part of yourself are you hiding behind in shame and guilt? Shame and guilt. I would say like previously was my interest in doing therapy. I would say like that was my biggest piece, because I felt like, thinking about the shame piece, like I felt like the shame is, oh, how do you go from being someone who's in leadership and nonprofit back to like doing direct services, right? Like the shame in that. Potentially. I find no shame in it. I don't care, because I feel like the trajectory is like, oh, like you go in at this space and like you ought to work towards becoming something more, whether it's in that space or not. And for one, that experience ain't all it's cracked up to be, or that it's all that it is made to be, for one. And two, I think like the up step, the down steps, the side steps, whatever it may be, is like such a form of pressure that is just totally unnecessary. I think that it's really rooted in like society that we live in, like the patriarchy and the corporate America of it all, and knowing that like whatever step you're making is going forward, as long as it's something that is good and helpful for you. And I feel like the guilt within that is how long it took me to give myself that chance. Because I'm on LinkedIn, and LinkedIn does this funny thing like all other social media platforms with like feeding what it is that you want to see or what it is that you don't want to see. I remember when I was studying for my LMSW, all I would see is people saying like, oh, I passed the test, I passed the test, I passed the test, I passed the test. I'm like, oh, it's amazing. But for me, it's like, what if I don't pass the test? What if I'm doing all this studying and I don't do well, because I pushed it plenty of times from when I was originally supposed to take that test. I think I rescheduled the test like 3 times before I actually took it. Here's Foster Puppy, because she wants to be seen. Ain't she just, she's like a little teddy bear. I feel like she looks fake. I feel like she looks like a toy. She doesn't even look real. But anyways, and right, that's what I would see. And then I feel like there's like this pressure of like, what if I don't do well? I'm going to feel horrible because I'm a perfectionist, like in recovery of being a perfectionist and having to be like the greatest and the best at everything in that process, right? So now that I am doing therapy and I'm working towards my LCSW, all I see is everybody saying, oh, I've got my LCSW. Oh, I just started my private practice. Oh, this and that. Oh, that. And I'm like, oh, that's amazing. I could be so happy for these other people. But I'm like, dang, like when I graduated with my master's and got my license, if I would have just went straight into this, I would be in a space where I'd probably have my 3,000 hours already instead of like just starting over. And I would be on my way to building my own private practice because I have the name already. Like I have my logo. I know exactly what I want it to be. I've pictured this space for a really, really long time, even before giving myself this opportunity. So there's a lot of guilt there. And I try to tell myself like, well, everything happens in its own time, because I wouldn't be able to have the appreciation for the work that I'm doing now if it wasn't for the experience that I went through and like the insight and the knowledge that I have from where I'm at today. So everything happens for a reason, on record, to kind of keep myself grounded in that. But I would say Like, that is the biggest piece that I was hiding behind shame and guilt, this yearning to do something else besides what it was that I was doing. All right, so let's top it off at question number 8. Do you feel that the life you are living is a life that you wanted to have when you were a child? So, for me as a child, I am not someone who ever thought about having a house, who ever thought about being married. I just wanted to be a therapist and like to help people in some way, to be the person that I wish that I had for myself. So I would say that I am totally, totally doing that. I think that I have community and connection with other people in ways that I never would have thought. Because when I was younger, especially in the midst of my depression, I really didn't know how far life was going to be. Not that I had any like plans to like commit suicide or to not be here in some kind of way. I just like had difficulty in having like a legitimate understanding of like what it meant to get past a certain age of some sort. So a lot of that thought process, I feel like let's see, when did I start like future planning legitimately? I'd probably say like my freshman or sophomore year of high school. I could be lying. Honestly, really maybe my junior year of high school is when I feel like I really started to take a look at life, and I'm like, well, I want to be here and I'm going to be here, because I did a lot of self-work, like CBT, my own version of cognitive behavioral therapy, looking back at it, just reframing my thought process. And it's, well, I'm here, so I might as well have a good time. I'm alive, so I might as well try to enjoy being here. I am who I am, so I might as well find some love for myself so that I'm not severely depressed every day. Might as well try. So yeah. At a certain point of time, like, I'm living the life that I wanted to have because I had such severe goals for myself. Like, I think that's where my perfectionism came from. Because like before it was just like me comparing myself to other people, and I would never, because like I'm incapable, I can't, I'm not worthy, to a point where it's, well, I'm going to get everything that I want, and this is exactly how I'm going to do it. It needs to go this way, and I'm going to prepare, and it's got to be this, and if it ain't that, then I'm just like in shambles. You know, great grades and doing whatever. I'm definitely was like a work smarter, not harder type of person, you know, got it done, whatever it was. And I feel like that really shined and showed itself in my junior and senior years of high school, and building what the Shania was in that future. And I'm constantly learning and becoming other versions of myself every single year, every couple of months. Life lessons to be had and to learn from. But yeah, I feel like that's what I would say. I feel like I am living the life that maybe little Shania would have loved to have lived, but I think she was too depressed to think about what that could look like. So that is everything for today's episode. Thank you so much for tuning into this. I hope you don't mind this very candid episode with me, our 20th episode. And for those who are tuning in on every Monday, I appreciate you so much. I do check to see, all I see is numbers. I don't see people for sure. But, you know, anyone that's tuning in, I'm not looking for this to be a thing where I become famous or even make money for real, because I don't think I'm going to. I'm not pushing for it that hard for it to be that kind of thing. But, you know, just being able to hear other people's stories and just to talk to other people, just have a few moments to learn about others is just so amazing. Because it's the one thing that I love about therapy, is just all these different lives that are being lived at once. And generally, we just kind of stay in our own little bubble. So I hope that anyone who does listen, that this is a nice little snapshot to see what other people are going through, positive and challenging. And I look forward to any comments that are on YouTube and Spotify. Please like and share with others. Be sure to check out our reading list that's on our link tree, linked in the show notes, if you like to read, if you're into that type of thing. And like always, thank you for tuning in. And until next time, and be well. Thanks for joining me at the Listening Well. If you have a story, a secret you've never shared, or a question you'd like advice on, or just something that you would like to share with somebody else, you can send it in anonymously if you wish at the email thelisteningwell25@gmail.com. Every story matters here, and I can't wait to hear yours. Until next time, keep listening and sharing.